Greetings and salutations, and welcome. Now that we have our wonderful social media officer Kai'Xin, and now I'm going to say some things real quick. This is actually our fourth time running through this war, and because of technical difficulties in our the past three. This and because of technical difficulties in our past three, this is Lulu the alpaca, and not llama. No, no, no. She is an alpaca, and she's very beautiful, aren't you? Yes. So this is Lulu the alpaca, and she does an excellent job of introducing things, don't you? Anyway, so you can go back to the pen. Anyway, now I want to say that I want to say hi to everybody and go. This is our newly completed sign for live in Glymm, and has been added Glimmerus Hilaris Locus Est. Now, if anybody of you, for historical purposes, this is our unofficial motto. Glimmerus Hilaris Locus Est means Glymm, 'tis a silly place in loose Latin. And I also want to say my completed sign here of where you are, and you are right here. This is there's Glymm, of course, wonderful Glymm, and the Everclear barony of Glymm. And here we have Blathanor, and our neighbors to the north, Dragon's Lair. And now our newly recognized canton, fully formed canton of Califort, to the east. We have our neighbors to the east, west, and north. So that's what we got. That's what we got. Okay, now having done all the interesting things, I would like everybody to meet Gao Kai'Xin, our social media officer, and yeah, say hi.
I think we're going to have to call me the ever elusive social media officer, considering some of the complications we've had with getting my face.
The ever elusive.
I'm telling you,
or how about this? The phantom social media officer.
Ooh. But no, let's not forget. I actually had to perform some of my duties for my other office, Cut and Thrust. We had someone with some questions about it, and I actually got to answer some questions. I almost forgot.
Yes, I saw that. Yes.
I almost forgot that there's a tube full of baronial stuff in my closet. Loaner gear that probably needs dusted off at this point. I wrapped everything up, nice and well for long-term storage, and that's where it's been sitting.
So not only our social media officer, but also our cut and thrust officer. So doing dual responsibilities. So give us a bit of your history. So when did you playing in the SCA?
Well, originally started playing as a teenager. God, I think I was 16, 17. No, actually, it would have been younger than that. It was originally in the Outlands, in the Shire of Windkeep, which is Cheyenne, Wyoming. Relatively small community. They do a monthly what they call a taster's revel. It's basically just a really small one evening event. Sometimes they're themed, sometimes they're not, but it's for newcomers. It's for people that I want to try seneschalling an event, but I don't want to do a big scary event. Okay, well, this one is just a real small one with people from the Shire. Um, it's a good place to try out like new recipes, stuff like that. Mistress Aldith, I think she's Mistress. I'm not sure. I haven't kept up. Um, Made a dish called Heaven, Earth, and Sky, which I guess is a Nordic dish. Don't quote me on that. It's really, really amazing. It's meat, it's roast potatoes and apples, and just it's different. It's really awesome. But that was one that she tried out at the Tasters Rumble. So played in Winky for a while. We ended up. This is when I was young, so my family ended up moving back to Colorado, to Denver, which is the barony of Kerta. And I played there for a little while. That's where I started period fencing. I tried heavy. I don't like wearing armor for that long. Um, so lighter armor, fencing. Cut and thrust wasn't a thing at the time. But it was very political, very clicky, very you had to know people and whatnot. And I don't like that. I do not. I don't do politics. I mean, obviously, there's politics in everything from your job to whatnot. But in the game I play in my free time, I want to have fun. I don't want to deal with politics. Outside of this is fun, so it might be a joke. It might be silly. Okay, I do know this person, but everyone else knows them too. They're a good person. I don't like it when it becomes like real serious, and people took it really seriously. So I just stopped playing for God, 10, 20 years. Um, but then I moved back. I moved up here to be with some family, and I said, "Oh, well, SCA," and I had found out that cut and thrust was a thing. I was told it started here in Ontario, so I was rather interested in that. And well, you know how it goes. Once you start playing and having fun, one thing leads to another. And next thing you know, I've got two offices, and I'm like, well, okay.
Next thing you know, you're an officer. Yes.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Although there is one thing that has happened in the interim since our first recording. My name has is going to what would it be? College of Heralds. It's
Mhm.
past the first. My
Right.
device needs work, which is not surprising. But my name is going
Yes.
forward.
Yes.
I'm very
You
happy.
and I have talked about you and I have talked about your device, and we have to sit down and
Make some alterations.
I've got to go through the choice of heraldic art and see what I can find that will help
we'll,
make
we'll, we'll,
that work.
we'll definitely have to get together on that one. There's some resources that I'm aware of that I don't know how to access that I think would have been helpful before I submitted it. But first time through, I'm not that worried about it. I never
No,
I never went that far when I played originally, so that's definitely a step farther. That's nice.
excellent, excellent. Like that, you know, I wrote in a piece on Facebook that I joined the SCA, and within 4 years, I had my name passed and my device passed because I wanted it. It was something that I wanted, and I did the research. I did the looking in. Went to our herald at the time, who was His Lordship William Drake, and excellent herald, very knowledgeable.
Nice.
And we went through the books, and because uh, uh, he had all the books
Right.
and da da da, and threw it out there. And my first attempt at a device did not pass. My
That
name
happens a
passed
lot.
before. Yeah, that's not unusual. So my second attempt passed, and uh, yeah, yeah, I'm pretty jazzed about that. And now I have my new device, and
All
my
that.
old device is my badge, and that's a whole nother story there. But anyway, yes, names and devices. But I've known people who have been playing for years and years and years, and uh, haven't gotten around to getting their names and devices passed, and I'm like,
Right? Like, wait, I got my AOA. Now I need a device. what do I do?
Yeah, yeah. It's not yeah, like they say, and when you get your way away, um, consult with your local
Harold,
herald on your on your name and device and
right?
all that jazz. So you said you said it was politics that made you back away.
Right.
And what was it? What was it that brought you back?
Well, so a lot of people don't realize. Obviously, I love the fighting. I love the martial field. I was really ecstatic when I heard about cut and thrust because I had been kind of aware of and interested in HEMA. The HEMA doesn't really. All they do is just the fighting, and you lose a lot. You lose a lot of the cultural intricacies. Um, I I I like the fact that history is a gray area, that we kind of have to go off of what was written down. I like exploring that, and I love dancing. I love I learned to dance because of period dancing. It was it was when I was about 14. That's right. Because of just how much fun it is to do, like, not necessarily. I mean, pavans are have their place, but like some of the more enthusiastic dances that we do. Um, it's been so long I
There's been some
cannot.
enthusiastic dancing I've seen. I'm telling you, yeah, that's for sure.
The sort where you're almost panting at the end of it. I like that. I like just in Windkeep there was a lot of camaraderie, and there was a lot of community, and I like that a lot because that really I like the push that we're doing as a society for inclusiveness. It's good to feel like these people want you to come in and they want you to belong, and there's a lot of fun activities to do too. I have a goal. I want to get together a trebuchet crew. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not a heavy, but I still want the trebuchet crew. Just because trebuchets are awesome.
I'm with you right there. We have two
Really?
trebuchets in the barony.
Is that
Um,
right?
yes,
Someone was
we
talking
have
about that
two
the other day.
trebuchets. Snorri has them at his house. They are in various degrees of
Oh,
assembly, and
they're
we
complete. They just need to be.
they are not as complete as they should be.
So someone needs to
They
go out
are
there,
they are
assemble them, and see what's
old,
needed,
and that's what needs to happen.
and well, it needs
And
to be replaced apparently.
there are pieces that needs to be replaced. I am sure of that. But I, for one, have been wanting. I was actually uh, signed off as siege crew at Art of War one year, and I was a protector of the siege engine that we took to Art of War,
That's
and
fantastic.
it was lots of fun. It was I sat there with my with my ping pong ping pong with my tennis ball throwing crossbow and defended it and knew the rules and the regulations and things like that. And,
Now, bear in
uh,
mind, I have
yeah.
not been to a war. What do you use for shot? I mean, I'm assuming just a lot of tennis balls.
Well, on the end of something, because trebuchet. So it's not trebuchet. We didn't use trebuchet. Sorry, it was a ballista. Ooh,
Oh,
wow,
oh, 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 oh. Totally different
bad,
weapon.
bad knowledgeable.
If you would have
It
said
was.
catapult, I would have forgiven you for not specifying, but I mean, ballista is a totally different weapon.
It is. It is. Ooh, my bad. We have two ballistas. Sorry, guys.
Oh, okay. Ballistas are awesome too, but I want the full on
You want the
2-ton
trebuchet?
trebuchet.
I've only seen one of those in action
I've
at an
only
event, and
ever
that was a long time ago.
I've only ever seen trebuchets in action throwing fruitcake and at chunking events.
Yes.
but they
You're
do
right. It's tennis
exist.
ball.
They do exist.
It's a group of tennis balls that is launched.
Yeah, I want to see this at an event in action. It just sounds fantastic.
Well, you need to get. I tell you, you need to get signed off as siege crew. You and I need to go up to Dragon's Lair and hang out with the House of Rye and their team and
Pick some stuff
learn the
up.
intricacies.
Well, I built a couple trebuchets, but they're always really, really small ones, like little backyard ones. Like I'm talking like the full, like 20 feet tall with the actual 2-ton weight to get the inertia. Just sounds like so much fun. The little ones are fun as
We're
hell
not
too.
going to have that in an event. No, no.
Well, it's only
Anyway,
got like a quarter-mile radius. You just fire from the parking lot.
maybe at Pensick, but not
I hear they
anything
have them at
here.
Penzic. I hear they have them at Penzic. What do you think inspired me?
That is true. That is true. Let's go. Let's go, Siege Crew. Let's go, Siege Crew. Anyway, go
Anyway,
Siege Engines. So what you know. What's one of the things that you love about Glymm and the Canton and our wonderful Canton?
well, one of the things that I find that really, really has been making me happy is I feel that community. I feel the sense of, hey, you're a newcomer. Hey, are you interested in this? What about this? Would you like to come do this? Yeah, I feel the welcome. It's not. It doesn't have the exclusive feel. It has more of an inclusive feel. It's not you're some strange dude. It's oh, okay, cool. Hey, this one time, like I've been doing this for this long. Here's this fun story. Maybe we can do that. And it's like, okay, it's not the you're a bard. There are ways of telling stories. It
Absolutely.
doesn't have. I don't feel like it's the this is my accomplishments I'm showing off stories. It feels like these are the cool things that we do here type stories. And it's subtle, but it's there. And I definitely I feel more welcome if that makes sense.
Well, good.
It doesn't feel
Good.
like you have to.
That makes me feel really good. That makes me feel really good about
Yeah,
Glymm and the SCA as well.
it's very much not the oh you don't know anybody so you are nobody. It's you're a person. Come be a person with us and do this fun thing. So yeah,
Come do
yeah.
this.
I, I I can't wait till we start having more in-person activities again because there'll be more of the fun things to do. I was really looking forward to dance practice starting back up. I'm definitely looking to see the marshal fields open back up. Um, and we have a really strong archery community here too, which is funny because Master Reese, I know he's Master Reese, is also an Outlands archery. I don't know if he's an archery champion, but he's definitely a fighter. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Sir Reese. Actually, I'm not sure if it's Sir or Master. Which one do you say? Because he's got 3 peerages. Um,
I've had that discussion with my own pelican, and who is uh, kind of and so it's uh, Sir Cedric or Master Cedric or
so,
just Cedric.
so it's
So
just
it's
whichever one's applicable.
well, and also he's an ex baron, so you can throw his excellency in there as well. So
Now, I do know that.
that's always a good fallback is like your excellency.
Well, I do know. I'll say Master East because to me that's always kind of the role that he filled. But he's not a peer. He just has every other peer, or he's not a royal peer, a noble peer. He just has every other peerage. Which how do you knight, pelican, and laurel? That's insane.
And master of defense, and now master of defense. Yes,
Oh no, he wasn't a fencer, so there's not that. But
and then
he
someday
is a huge archer, so that was a thing there. And we
he's
have a
probably and the Grey Goose Shaft is on Tyrion.
I think that Outlands has something similar, but from my experience, Outlands in general itself wasn't as big as archery, so I wasn't as big on archery. But they have a lot of heavies. Oh my goodness. And they can field an army, so they
Nothing
still
like being able to field an army for sure.
they still show out, yeah. But yeah, I like the fact that, and I will say this with the Keaton too. I mean, um, her ladyship, did she get her AOA? I thought she just got her AOA.
Well, if Tamsin got her AOA, so it's
Yeah.
lady.
Oh, okay. So Lady Tamsin is freaking amazing. Um,
Absolutely.
and of course our it would be Master Stables now, right? Is also in the Keaton, so that's cool. Um,
Yes.
Valentine, Valentine,
Valentine.
Valentine. Yes, I
Yes,
would say
Valentine.
who is also an amazing person. I mean, it's just
Yes.
there's a lot of really awesome people here. That's yeah, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing.
And it's one of the reasons why I'm really I mean, others would be there are those in at times who have looked at, you know, well, why do we need a canton? You know, we were perfectly fine just being a barony.
Because we
And
like numbers. We
I
like
was
people to
looking
come and
at
play with us.
some history about Glymm.
Right.
And back in the day, when we became the Shire of Everclear, there were there was dissent. There was dissent that we were breaking away. And why would you do this? Why would you take lands from away from it's like I think that there are those who who feel a ownership, if you will. But then
Possessive,
there are
though.
those who are I absolutely understand. We needed the canton. We've got people out there who need to feel uh,
Part of their group.
ownership, if you will,
Yeah.
that they have a their own place to be,
Absolutely.
and that's important. That's important. I mean, I'm Glimmerian. I'm smack dab here in the middle of Glimmer, and so but as I have traveled, I have gained friends and family in other baronies. Blatha, Nor, Dragonslayer, uh, and Aquaterra, Dragon's Mist. There's there are areas. Oh, Vulcanfeld, absolutely. Wastekeep.
Oh, yeah.
As far well, our archer's got to archer's got to shoot somewhere, and when you
Fair
have a
point.
wonderful thing called Archery Fest, I'm giving a plug here. Uh, and that in Vulcanfeld, that's the place to be. Let me tell you, and I've gained quite a few people I consider family out there too. So family, kinship,
Yes. Yes.
welcoming. Those are important words as far as inclusivity. Absolutely. Speaking of uh, inclusivity,
Yes.
tell me why you chose a Asian persona.
Okay. So I'll be really honest. The driving force behind it is the fact that I particularly love Li Jiayin. Um, more commonly referred to as a Tai Chi sword. If you've ever seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, the main sword, the Jade Destiny, I believe it was, is a
I believe
Jiayin.
so. Okay.
I love the Chinese longsword or straight sword. It's referred to as both. I love that style. I love the unusual angles of attack. I just everything about it really agrees with me. oh, well, cut and thrust exists. I wonder what it would take to make a Chinese persona. But now, by the same token, I've always been fascinated by Chinese culture. I it astounds me that what we think of as advanced culture, they were literally doing 1,000 or 2,000 years ago. So literally a millennia before, Western civilization caught up with it. And so I decided to go ahead and go with that. I personally, mundanely, have a heavy interest in Taoism, I guess would be a good way to say it. In a lot of the Asian philosophies and in some cases religions. So I kind of figured that that would go hand in hand. Um, I wanted to do some study basically on how Asia interacted with Europe. There was trade long before Marco Polo. It's just it was the mysterious East. He told a lot of stories, but he made it a little bit less mysterious. But it had been around for far longer than that. I went ahead and went with the Northern Song Dynasty because the Song Dynasty they started off as pretty much one of the more major kingdoms in China. China has been through almost as much rulership change as Hesse and Germany. I mean, honestly, it's kind of crazy. But the Northern Song Dynasty is what's known as the Chinese Renaissance, or the Song Dynasty itself is known as the Chinese Renaissance. That's when they started with their movable print. Um, God, there are so many things. The sextants. That's why Southern Song Dynasty moved towards seafaring, or one of the reasons why they moved towards seafaring. They actually created a sextant that could be used during that period. And I have found out all kinds of other things with this persona. Like, for instance, they had sit down restaurants where you had a menu and ambiance, the experience of dining as part of it. That's something that I think of as rather modern. Cafes and pubs have been around forever, but an actual sit down restaurant like that, but that existed 1100, 1100 AD. I mean, that's 1,000 years ago. They had sit down restaurants like we have now. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
they had taverns and places that provided shelter for travelers,
Right. Some
and as but
food, but
also had food.
right.
It was it you and you had tables and stuff, but it
It
was
wasn't
not
a
a place
restaurant.
that it was not a restaurant
Yeah.
even. Yeah.
Which is just, I mean, it's such a simple, silly thing, but it astounds me that so they had almost the same experience that we have now 1,000 years ago. That's just wild to how advanced that culture was. And then you look at how like we had noodles and we had silk and things like that from Asia, but for the longest time we didn't even know that silk came from worms. We thought it grew on trees because they kept it a secret.
Right.
And it's
And
so
tea was a big secret as well.
oh yeah, that's
You know.
true. That's true. I didn't think about that. And
Yeah.
it's just it's so fascinating to see the interplay and what we think of, what the common perception is, and then what actually historically, this is actually what happened. And it's just like, oh, I've always been fascinated by this culture, but I never realized this. And there's so many things I'm finding like that, just researching this persona. And
So
the other reason,
there's a lot of rabbit holes to go down.
oh my God. The reason why I'm proud of finding or my name passing, I did not realize how intricate Chinese naming conventions are. You have, of course, you want to have it be beneficial, so you want it to, be something like, good fortune or whatnot. Kaizen actually is a culmination, and essentially what it means is big hope. Because Kai is tall or high or from a high place, and Jin, I'm still working on my pronunciation, is hope. It's hope for better, basically. Um, but by the same token, you have to pick your family name, your personal name, can't be your name, or it can't be your father's or your grandfather's name. Everyone has taboos about names they can't use. So if you only follow your father's naming taboos and your grandfather's naming taboos, then you're not a very virtuous person. You should be following your father's, your mother's, your boss's. Oh my goodness, I don't know how anyone ever ends up with a name because there is so much you have to go through and so many things that will disqualify a name. I was going to go with Cal because I thought it sounded better, and it's a family name out of the book of 5,000 names. It's 5,000. Um, but as I was doing research, I found out Cal was the name of the emperor at the time's consort. Now, the emperor's name is always taboo. The emperor's family's name is always taboo. But that was his consort, so that probably would have been taboo too because it's right there connected to the imperial
Right.
family.
Right.
So that I had to go find another name. I just that rabbit hole by itself. I mean that there are theses written on that. I found a couple of them. I was like, ooh, okay. There's a lot to this subject, and that's
So it's not
just
just
names.
it's not just picking a name and then going with it. If you could have
I could have.
but you chose to follow
Well,
the
the convention.
the convention of the time, which is one of the things that heralds love is that you're following not just what is known as but also what is you need to do some research into it, and I yeah,
Well,
excellent.
I was
Excellent.
looking for the two sources, and I found it, and then I was doing a little bit more research about my period, and was like, oh, that's not going to work. And so I had to go back and check, and was like, oh, because no, that's what it was. I was looking up the second source for cow, and come to find out, I was like, wait, that period, that those numbers, that date looks really. Oh, that's my period. Now I got to pick another
So
name.
what period are you then? What
So Northern Song would have been, if I remember right, it's 927 to 1120. I went to the very end of Northern Song, so mine is would have been right at 1100.
okay.
Yes. Um, and the reason why I chose Northern Song over Southern Song, because Southern Song was actually a bit longer. Um, Northern Song was the end of the Silk Road. When they went to Southern Song, when they got pushed back to where they were only around, oh God, I'd have to look at the map now. What is modern day Beijing? Um, then the Silk Road had become too dangerous. It had become far too rated. What's the word I'm looking for here? Highwaymen, basically. Um,
Great.
s-
Okay.
yeah, so they went to shipping, and
Bandits.
that's yeah. They went to literally transporting things over the sea, and that's actually where you see like the city ship. It's basically the imperial palace on a junk. Like I saw a picture of this when I was a kid. It's one of the things that got me fascinated with China. The ship literally was the size of a small city, but it was in the style of a junk, and it supplied other ships. I mean, it was amazing. Um,
I've actually seen the pictures you're talking about in National Geographic,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
remember it specifically because they're talking about a ship the size of an aircraft carrier
a, a
back
thousand
in
years ago.
a
Yeah,
thousand years ago,
yeah.
and
How crazy.
you're thinking, and then its support ships, as you would have in a naval fleet, you had the aircraft carrier as the center, but then you have the support ships around it, and looking at the depiction, the drawings that they did, is like,
Well, they
uh,
reconstructed the whole of it. I
wow,
forget who it
yeah,
was. Yeah,
yeah,
but just
it's immense.
to put it into perspective, Well, and the even crazier thing is you think about standard shipbuilding at the time. A normal junk is small. It's
Yeah, it's not a
maybe
large ship. It's
maybe
not.
40 feet.
Yeah,
Proud about. So,
yeah.
and then you have this monstrosity of aquatic construction. It's like it's amazing what people can accomplish if they put their mind to it, and if they have enough of a workforce.
Enough resources. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, you take a look at the pyramids, the
exactly.
Sphinx. You
Yep,
know
exactly.
the
Well, any of the seven
Machu
wonders, really.
Picchu. You
Yeah,
know, I mean,
yeah.
you got enough resources. Yes, you can
Right.
get this done. Yes.
It's just and that sort of thing. It's much like the trebuchets. In all honesty, the impressive large construction. It's I am somewhat crafty. I understand what it takes to build something. Look at something like that, and I can kind of extrapolate. Oh my goodness, this is what it must have taken to build that. And then you think about like a ship like that, or like the Imperial Temple. Just these the pyramids. These just astounding accomplishments. Um, since I'm Chinese, the Great Wall. I mean, that's that. It's. I also kind of have a fascination with the terracotta soldiers, but that's way pre-period for me. But they're kind of
Those are
fascinating.
the amount of work and craftsmanship
And
in
exactly the
something like that is
detail, but there's
phenomenal. The
tens of thousands of them, all with the individual faces. Oh my!
Yeah.
And someone
Well,
had to
and
go there and make that, do that work.
you look at something. I look at something that Da Vinci or Michelangelo made, and the Sistine Chapel, and you're like, the
And then and to put it
how
into perspective, it's like, okay, so these people historically weren't ignorant. They weren't, oblivious or dumb. But at the same time, they didn't have the tools. They didn't have the same things that we do. Their techniques may be ones that we have built off of, but they were still kind of rough. And yet they accomplished these things that are just astounding.
yeah, yeah, it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Somebody thought about that, said, hey, let's build it. So you've got your Asian persona, you
Yes.
got your Chinese persona,
Yes.
you got your name that is on its way to getting passed.
What? I have
Um,
a device that was designed in a Chinese style, and I was told I need to not do that for my submission.
Unfortunately, yes.
I was warned that that might be the case, and I said I'm going to submit it anyway.
It does not hurt to submit. You have you can resubmit,
Yes.
and we got to work on that. Um, and that's really the I'm currently doing some research into Glimmerian history um, for many reasons, and one of the things that I'm looking at is other people's heraldry, and
Makes sense.
it fascinates me to look at some of the heraldry and unfortunately know that that's never going to pass. That would never pass if it was put out today. That would never pass.
Eight.
But be that as it may, it's gorgeous, and somebody this is it's in heraldry is very personal. It's not just something that you just it's yours.
Right.
It's your heraldry is yours, and it's how you are identified on the field, identified at a campsite, identified that if it's your badge, this belongs to you. If you don't have a badge, then you're still going to be using your device as a badge to say this belongs to me.
Right.
So what it's very again, it's very personal, just like that's like a name,
Right.
and so how you want to be perceived in the SCA, absolutely, in many ways.
Well, and
So
I will say I'm definitely looking at the heraldry of it. in so much as colors and whatnot. I'm going to be out there on the field. I don't really want to put a lot of work into a coat, into a C&T coat that doesn't necessarily echo the whatever my device is. I mean, I'm a big one of color schemes, matching and whatnot. That's why I'm kind of pushing for. Okay, well, I want this device with these colors so that I can match that color scheme. And what's appropriate for my persona? What would I like? So there's definitely a working with. I will say that. It's here's the idea. I don't think this is going to go because someone's probably already done this because it's so simple. But that gives me something to base it off of. So
We
definitely
had
that.
a young rapier fighter in the barony. Her her kit was a pink kimono like pink Asian
Japanese.
dress,
Japanese sounds.
Japanese, I think.
Although ironically enough, kimonos are period in Song Dynasty China, so there's a lot of
But I'm not sure.
crossover.
But
I
she
would
it was pink.
assume Japanese.
It was pink. It was
Okay.
pink, and it was a pink pattern. And that was. Are you thinking of creating a Chinese uh, kit?
As much as I can. So, fun thing. One of the other inspirations for this persona, even when I first started playing, we had a Japanese community in the Outlands, and as I understand, a lot of kingdoms have that. And I thought that was really cool because they had their tents designed in such a way that they looked like the pagoda, the rice paper walls and whatnot. I mean, they went
Right.
all out, and I thought that was really awesome. But I like to be different, and again, I like the Jayin, not so much the katana. I know how to use a katana, but I'm not as fond of them. They only have one edge. They're really good at cutting, and that's it. But they are really good at cutting.
Oh, really good at cutting. Yes.
But I like other options. Um, but so I definitely saw that there was a place for the other cultures' personas. It was mostly the period and how things interacted with Europe. Okay, cool. That's what the SCA is about. But I, I I wish we had more Indian personas, Indian, or more what I want to say Middle Eastern, I guess,
Hmm.
because a lot of our current arithmetic comes from Arabia. They were really developed. There was a lot of influence on Europe that came from that area. I think it'd be really interesting to explore that. But I went with Asian because that's it's a bigger draw for me. The thing is, we have a kingdom approved blade list for steel fighters. There is no version of a Tai Chi sword on that.
Ooh,
So
okay.
I will have to when I am ready to do that, which there's the financial, and then there's also the fact that we don't have any in-person activities.
Right, right.
What I'll have to
Not yet.
do is pick one that I want to go with, and then basically run that through its tests.
Mhm.
Um, Chances are, and this is what stopped me, I'll probably have to buy two because we'll have to push one until it fails so that we know where it fails,
Right,
where it's safe
right.
before anything's submitted to Kingdom to get it on the list. But yes, I do plan on, as close as I can, making a Chinese cut and thrust kit.
Sweet.
Um, I even have a mask that I want to paint over my mask. I just need to find someone with some artistic skill. I don't have any. um, but the coat that I'm wearing is based off of it's Hanfu, which is the clothing of the Han people, and there's a name for this particular collar that comes out and then down. There should be ties here, but Velcro. Um, but yeah, very much. with going as close as I can to it. I don't plan on doing the period Lamalar. That would be phenomenal for heavy fighting, but it makes you look kind of like the Michelin Man, and I like to be able to move.
I've seen Lamellar that did not that didn't represent anything Michelin to me, but it was actually quite beautiful.
I have heard this even about the armor that I'm talking about, but I it is absolutely gorgeous, no doubt. I personally prefer Ming Dynasty, which is almost the end of period for the SCA. I believe it was the last imperial dynasty in China, but don't quote me on that. But as far as the Song Dynasty armor, it's poofy. I mean, it's not, but it looks poofy to me. It's poofy. It poofs. It's not.
When I think poofy, my brain automatically goes to Lands Connect because it's poofy.
It
You've got the
looks.
big arm
Yes.
design there, and you've
Yes.
got the big legs, and you've got the yeah,
The big skirt because they didn't
yeah,
necessarily do divided legs.
yeah.
It 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 looks like Elizabethan court guard, but it's lamellar armor. I mean
Wow.
that's an over
I'd like to. I
exaggeration.
got to take a look at that because I've never seen Lamellar look like that. But I'm
It's
curious now. I'm curious.
it's an over exaggeration, and again, this might just be my mindset, but to me it looks poofy, and I don't like it. But the point is, they did have heavy armor then because they were a warring culture. I mean, they were always at war with somebody. That's why there's Northern and Southern Song Dynasty, because they lost one of the wars they shouldn't have been in and got pushed back.
Ah,
So they had well, the whole concept of never getting to a land war in Asia. It's because there are so many people there that you can field 1,000 people as a fief. You know, so they definitely had things for the common man. Archery was a really big thing in China. That was a pretty central concept, and I think a lot of people don't realize. Um, I can't think of the word for it at the moment, but I mean they actually have the Tao of archery basically, along with swords and everything else.
I know they have the. I've seen the Mongolian horse bows, and I imagine there's
That'd be
definitely
awesome. Yeah.
a cross between you've got Mongolian, and then you've got the horse archers, the Japanese horse archers,
I know Japan had
where
some. Japan is
yeah,
more known. They're more known for their longbows. Um, they're not English longbows. We're talking like
no,
the 6, 8 feet longbows that you literally have to fire, up here because it's so big.
well, they are
Um,
horse bows. They are meant to be fired from horseback. So there's
well, it's not
definitely a
surprising they have other ones
difference.
too.
There's definitely a difference, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Um, I'm looking at our time, and I don't want to get off on too much, but
Fair enough.
I do want to ask you what
Yes.
because of the my past um, interviewees
Yes.
uh, have been established, shall we say, in the SCA. Uh, what are your plans for the future? Do you have uh, a direction? Do you have a course that you are setting? Do you have a vision?
Well, yes and no.
And not necessarily
Um,
a wanderer vision, but definitely a vision.
yes and no. Um, if we were to put that in the modern, more corporate terms, I don't necessarily have a 5-year plan, but I might have a 2-year plan. And 10-year, no. So I would like to get my I would like to get my device passed. Or I'm planning
Absolutely.
on it.
Yes. Yes.
I would like to get my AOA just because that's always been kind of a thing of like, okay, now you're actually like a fully invested member if you have your AOA. You know, yes,
Well,
there's the paying there's the paying your dues and whatnot, you know, and being a full member. But to me, it's always seemed like once you get your AOA, you're actually like in the SCA. You know, before that, you're participating, but you're not like all in yet.
it's an interesting concept, but
Like I said, this is my headspace.
exactly, exactly.
Um,
And that's not unusual. That's not an unusual headspace. Go on,
fair,
go on.
fair. Um, I doubt that I will ever um, even shoot for Laurel. I am super impressed by every single Laurel I've ever met. My interests are too varied and my head is too spastic to focus like that. Yeah. I
I
wouldn't
hear
mind.
you.
I
I hear you.
right. Too many rabbit holes. I can't. But anyway, I wouldn't mind getting being a mod just because that's cool. It'd be cool to have the recognition, but I don't know if we do mods specifically for CNT, and I am not enough of a fencer to shoot for a fencing master defense. Um, Other than that, no. I was thinking to myself, when I first started doing things like, at some point I may get recognized for service because I have a tendency to just do things. I do that at work. I do that at home. It's this needs done. Okay, no one else is doing it, so I'm going to. But that's not really a goal. It's not really like I'm shooting for it. It's just, oh, that'll probably happen at some point, and okay, that'll be cool. Um, Definitely researching my persona more, learning more about Chinese history.
Well, because
I
and
will.
the reason I kind of bring this up is um, I would like to hear more about Chinese history,
Okay.
and
Are you
I
asking me what I think you're
would like.
asking?
Well, I would like to, whatever research you find, share it. Absolutely.
Fair, fair.
Whether it's an ANS display, whether it's a arts and sciences display, whether it's a hey, I'm going to throw this out there, everybody, see what think, whatever. But that's
Well, now,
I would like to see. Yeah, I would like to see
ironically
that.
enough, ironically enough, if we ever have in-person activities, no, we will, but if we have them before my 10-year suite is up, um, I did
Oh
some
yes, that is
research.
true. That is true.
Oh yes,
I had forgotten, didn't I forget? Kaizen is our current
sweet
suite.
Kaizen. And apparently we have
Yes,
decided that I am the virtually sweet Kaizen.
the virtually sweet Kaizen. Yes, because you are, yes,
Because
right
everything is
now.
virtual.
So everything's virtual.
And
So you are the
social
virtually sweet
media.
Kaizen.
It's social media, it makes sense.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. I've got to remember that when I'm working on the history of the suite. Yes, you are the virtually sweet Kaizen. Yes, yes.
But I did do a whole lot of research. I was looking for hard candies, Chinese hard candies, under the assumption that I could make a glucose-free version with some mundane ingredients. Come to find out, there's pretty much nowhere that I have been able to find in Chinese history hard candies that will last more than a couple hours. And if the shelf life is only a couple of hours, you really can't do those except for like at an event. The candied figs and other
Oh,
fruits,
okay. Candied figs. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, they have a shelf life of 6 hours. That is the longest one I've found. However, having done a pretty extensive amount of research trying to find something, I have found all manner of desserts I want to make. But these are desserts that you sit down and eat, not little prepackaged, snacky desserts. Like their honey water rice rice balls. They look really good because they're sticky rice, but then they're like stewed in like a honey water thing that they're served in. It sounds really good, and there's a lot of that. I've saved a lot of these recipes, but they're all desserts that you need to make and then serve. But I will be very happy, regardless of whether I'm a sweet or not, to go ahead and make these because I mean I've looked them up now and I've done the research on what dragon hair. Dragon hair is a they still make it today. It is sometimes referred to as Chinese cotton candy. The
Oh,
thing
I've heard of
is,
that. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not cotton candy. It's a hard candy, a mostly solid gel that you then stretch and
Hmm.
stretch. And apparently, there's a technique to it because if you break it, then you got to start over. So I guess there's a technique to the stretching to where you get like from one little piece, one little loop, you stretch, twist, stretch until you have like 10,000 strands. I want to try this. Supposedly it's really, really hard, but once you get it, it's like riding a bicycle. I want to try and make it because it sounds fun. It sounds like it would be a really fun challenge. But again, that's got a shelf life of about 15 minutes. So I need to make it and then you eat it. You know, like I make it and serve it and people eat it. I mean, it's cotton candy. It doesn't keep very long. It's sugar, basically.
Yeah. Spun sugar. Yeah.
Yeah,
Basically.
yeah,
Yeah. In a way. Yeah.
yeah. Hand twisted, but same diff. So yeah, not gonna stay, especially in our humid atmosphere. Not gonna stay viable for very long. Make it need
Our
it.
atmosphere is not that well. Right now,
it's
it's very humid.
it's raining.
Um, it's raining. It's raining. It's
Exactly.
raining
So
again.
so so the dragon hair is going to be an indoor event dish.
Possibly at Yule.
You know, I wouldn't. I almost made some this Yule, but I was like, that sounds like a lot of work for just like like help people at home. I want to do it for an actual event where a whole bunch of people can enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yule. Definitely.
Absolutely.
I am. I have volunteered in a way
Oh,
to
goodness.
make a set of cookies with this pattern because I was told that this looks like a cookie.
It kind of does actually. Like
It
what?
does. It does.
One of those
Absolutely.
like
It
the
looks
tea
like a
wafers.
gingerbread cookie.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
looks like, but it's not. It's leather, and even this looks like a gingerbread. So yeah,
Right. Yeah.
it's no.
Exactly.
So I have said that I will make uh, a sugar cookie,
Okay.
frosted, and with that, a graham cracker cookie, not graham cracker, no gingerbread cookie,
That's pretty good too.
frosted like that, and a shortbread cookie,
Oh
large
God.
shortbread cookie. So
Right.
they're all of the cookies are going to be about this size.
Oh my God. That's one
And oh,
massive
that's
shortbread
nothing.
cookie.
Come
No,
on,
no. For a
that's
shortbread cookie.
well, with a shortbread cookie. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to frost it because frosted shortbread cookies just aren't really a thing. But what
Right.
I'm going to do
Not
is
too
I'm going to
versatile.
make a relief and press it into the cookie as and before it bakes,
Right.
and
Right.
then when it bakes, it'll
It
have
will bake up.
a
Yeah.
similar, not the same, similar
Right.
design
Nice.
as our heraldry. So yes, yes. Either that or I'll just make one great big goot.
Well, I
I'll
see
make a bunch
that.
of goots. That's I
So
could do that. I could make a big goot.
we we
So
we were going to at one point make some prizes for an art contest to get art for the Looking Glass, and
right,
that
right,
was the plan was to put a
right.
big goot on a goblet because I don't engrave glass that well. I can do a goot. That hopefully is okay.
Actually, once you seriously, I have now made so many goots. Seriously, I have made
Well,
so this is
and
only this is one of two, and then I've got the goots that I made for this, and the goots that I made for that, and the goots that I made for this, and so I've made a lot of goots over
after a
the
while, it
past
becomes
months,
becomes instinctual.
and it's becoming, yeah, it's yeah, as well as Rayanese. I've done a lot of Rayanese, let me tell you, and
I believe that.
it's become a it's become, yeah, I won't say I can do it like in with rote memory, but pretty much.
I'm pretty close.
And so once you start doing a goot, yeah, it becomes it becomes a thing. It becomes a thing.
Fair.
It's
I'll take
very
your.
gooty. It's very gooty. Yes, very gooty. Very good.
Very good.
Uh, but no, no, absolutely. Make the make
I plan on
something.
it. Like I said, I've
That
got
would be.
several of them planned. I specifically remember the rice balls in the honey water because that just sounds so good, and the dragon's beard because it's a challenge. I will make that dragon's beard one of these days. It is a challenge that I have assigned myself.
But I definitely think that moving forward, that is something that I would like to see is the history, uh,
I'll have to
and
start
you're the
taking
maritime
notes.
history, the fighting history, all of that. Of
Well, and it's ironic because the mercantile maritime is just as intricate as the martial history, and like a lot of people don't realize the reason why we have Cantonese and Mandarin. Mandarin is Mongolian China. It's when the Mongols ruled China, and they actually, for all the fact that they were conquerors, China was a very bureaucratic nation. All the various different parts of China have been bureaucratic for a very long time. Again, way advanced, way early in history. The reason why the Mongols and why we have Mandarin, they actually have a better bureaucracy than the, I don't want to say native Chinese, but the more central Chinese cultures did. And that's why they were successful because they came in, swept through everything with their invading force, and then could hold it because they could actually maintain it. And that's just really one of those one that's like it totally goes against common convention. You don't think about that. And it's one of the other things that makes it really, really interesting is that no, they actually were better able to manage the places they held, even though they were an incredibly crazy freaking invasive force. Hey, look, Great Wall, we need to keep these people out because they are literally making our culture better and it's making us look bad. Of course, they were also changing the culture too, so that
and they were changing the
probably
culture.
had something to
They
do with
were,
it.
yeah. There was that.
Yeah, but I mean, all this is very fascinating. I'll be happy. I will start taking notes. I will be doing my research for other people, not just myself.
Well, and again, there may be others out there who wish to have a Chinese persona, and
I was surprised we actually
anything
had quite a
you're
few.
the documentation you found on on the names, the again,
Look at names. They had
everything that you've done is fascinating, and I'd
it's a
like to,
drop
you
in the
know,
bucket though.
you know, all that's how it starts. One drop in the bucket, and the next thing you got another drop, and the next thing you got another drop, and next thing you got a full bucket. And
Parents, get your kids into freaking in the medieval reenactment because they'll never have time for anything else.
anything else, and they won't be able to spend their money on anything else. Let me
Right?
tell you.
Yeah,
Let me tell you.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a matter of
Oh, goals. One day, I have a goal of getting my kit fully complete. Yeah, like that ever happens.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm happy. I've got a full kit that I can go out in the field of all my own stuff. Now I just need to add a buckler and a dagger and
I don't know how many times I've talked to talk to archers, talk to fighters, both heavy and rapier, and now you know
Now we got CNT to add
chakras,
into it. Yep.
siege, and it's like, gee, there's something else out there, and puppets. It's like
That's
I
true.
have I have a puppet that I want to make. Yeah, and so uh, there's always that next thing, that next what how can I make my kit, how can I make my tent better, how can I make
So I haven't
so it's
I haven't really touched on my camping event kit yet.
oh, it's a whole nother conversation. So well, here we are,
Yeah.
we've been talking for an hour, and I want to
Fair.
close things down. Is there anything that you would like to convey to our wonderful viewing audience before we leave?
Um, it's a pleasure being part of the barony. I definitely I took the office of social media under the assumption that it was going to be a quiet little office, and then pandemic. Um, but for the most part, it's still been pretty not so quiet. We definitely have more activity there because that's where things are happening. But it's for the most part, people have been behaving themselves. I did not have a lot of the things that I was kind of worried about as I was stepping into it. And what's more, we I will say that I definitely think that we have wonderful leadership. Our officers are awesome. Their excellencies are amazing. I literally had to fight myself during that vote because I was like, I don't know. There's these are almost all good options. Which one do I pick? And it's a wonderful
It
thing
was
to
tough.
have to choose between the best of good
Good and
options.
good and good. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
like these
Yeah,
are all
yeah.
good. Which one's best? Oh, I don't know. This is so hard. Yeah, that's wonderful to be in that position. So I definitely want to thank everyone that I see, whether they are populace or whether they are some sort of officer or whether they are Baron and Baroness. We have awesome people. We have there's really awesome people, and it makes it really enjoyable. Um, this is a game. I like the fact that I can come and play, and it's a lot of fun. It hasn't always been for me. That's why I quit. It definitely is fun and enjoyable here. That's why I'm still here.
Well, awesome. Thank you very much. And just as two side notes, Kaizen is also our back behind the scenes production for Live in Glymm. And currently, our wonderful seneschal Melissa is Ladyship Melissa is our doing the Zoom moderating. So thank you, Melissa. Fantastic, and love you dearly. You are an excellent seneschal. I am
She's amazing.
I would say amazing. I'm so glad I was able to hand off the torch.
Absolutely.
So
It-
thank you, Kaizen, and from Kaizen and Lulu the alpaca, and myself as Lordship Volk the Grey. I want to wish you all a good night and a good day, and thank you.